there's going to be threats to marriage equality, right? Now, when like I said, when one thing starts to come, you start to push things back, right? Like I said, they had the whole, abortion thing now. It's 2024 and it happened like what, in the last year or two, right? When it came down to it, where they put in the ban for, people's right to choose what they do with their body. Now, if that can change, marriage equality can easily change as well, because they're going to be able to, change and revise different policies and make it, like I said, go backwards, like as if we're going back 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 odd years, right? And so there's going to be a lot of legislation that will come out at federal level and state levels that, like I said, will be negative towards people in the LGBTQ plus community. Welcome to the Queer Quest podcast, your beacon of light and sprinkle of glitter in the queer community. I'm your host, Cristiano Green, CEO and founder of Queer Quest and a transformation coach for queer individuals. And together, we're embarking on a journey of transformation. Each week, we bring you a new training topic or connect you with visionary queer leaders in healing and coaching, diving deep into conversations that inspire growth, celebrate diversity, and empower you to live authentically. So wherever you are, settle in and let's get ready to unlock the vibrant potential within. This is where your quest begins. Hello, all you fabulous souls, and welcome to another episode of the Queer Quest podcast. I'm your host, Cristiano Green, the CEO and founder of Queer Quest and a transformation coach for people in the queer community. So today on the podcast, we're going to be having a serious and hopefully impactful discussion that is very prevalent to what's going on in the world or in politics or the US, etc. right now. And it's about Donald Trump winning the 2024 US election to become the president again of the United States. Now, I want to start by saying I am not from the USA. I don't really follow politics in general, especially politics for countries that I'm not involved in. But I think this year I've been a little bit more up to date with kind of what's going on. The world of TikTok gives you a lot of information, and then you go down rabbit holes, then you search stuff on YouTube and things like that. And so I've been a little bit more versed in trying to understand what could be impactful to people in the queer community, considering, of course, that's the space that I work in. Those are that's the community that I'm a part of. And it's something that, of course, interests me because, when things impact our community, no matter where I am in the world, whether it impacts me, it does impact me, because I have to try to figure out what are these impacts going to do for our community, and maybe what are the support is needed for people in our community when crazy things in the world happen. And I'm calling it crazy because, to me, someone who is, has been accused of rape and is a convicted felon and been, impeached, for all the stuff that he's done in the past. It's crazy to me that, hearing all of the nutty things that he says, like it doesn't make sense with so many of the things that he's actually talking about on the topics that he's talking about. But he won by the majority, by quite some margin. And so to me, I was shocked because, like I said, I was following along, and I was mostly, of course, following stuff about, the other candidate, Kamala Harris, and really understanding and seeing, the chaoticness of Donald Trump and his speeches and all the stuff that he'd been sharing, and him not wanting to do debates and him pulling out of this and pulling out of that. I'm thinking, how could clearly people don't really have a support for him and his party right now because of the way that he acts, right? I'm thinking the American people are smart enough to not go out there and vote for someone who, to me, seems a bit crazy, right? And in fact, majority of people went out there and voted for his party. Now, to me, of course, I know that, at the end of the day, people are voting for the policies that are going to work best for them, things where that were on one party, maybe, they didn't like this, or they didn't understand it, or they're fully Republican and they want to vote and stick with Republicans because of XYZ. And I know, some of the policies that Kamala was talking about, we're trying to probably be impactful more to people who had more money. And of course, people who have more money are going to want to get rid of more of their money. So of course, there's going to be backlash there. So I can understand on some level how it happened. But, there's a lot of stuff that Trump has, spoken about in his, in his goals for his presidency that really impacts people in the queer community. So Donald Trump actually winning this election is, if everything goes from what they've said, it's going to have a very negative impact on people in the queer community. So if we look at like what happened when he was president, 8 years ago, whatever it was, then, things like he put like a ban for the military for people who were transgender, meaning that people who were transgender were not able to, who were actually barred from actually serving in the military. So discrimination, meaning like just because of your gender, you're not, like if you're not, your gender that you're assigned at birth, male or female, you are no longer able to serve in the military, things like that. So discriminating against people who really wanted to serve their country, He did stuff when it came to healthcare, meaning like there was like rollbacks of, non-discrimination protections that people in the LGBTQ plus community who had prior under the Affordable Care Act. And now, he rescinded some of those things. So people can actually discriminate against you, if you are LGBTQ, and they face no issues at all. He also appointed specific people who have been known to be very conservative as judges. So the appointment of these judges, who these people have a strong opposing LGBTQ plus rights, that like they're strongly opposed to those things. So putting those kinds of people into say Supreme Court, which means that having these people who are there for long term, if we can't change over those judges, then maybe it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 generations of people who have the same mindset. How can the country move forward when it comes to certain rights when people who are appointed to those roles are people who are, 60, 70 years old as of age and have a very one-sided view of the world? No wonder these policies aren't going to get changed when we have people in the power over there at B that are all stuck in, that grew up in a certain time. And those people who grew up in a certain time have a certain perspective, and it's harder for those people to change their perspectives, right? And so, again, this is affecting people who are in the LGBTQ plus queer community, because, again, if you have people in the Supreme Court who are judges, who are very conservative, then anything that may be pushed forward that is, related to, enhancing the lives of people in the queer community, it's going to be rejected. It's going to be diminished because, again, they have their views, and it's very hard for those people to change, especially when there's a majority of people like that there. Because when you sit at the table and everyone's talking about the same thing and you have the same opinion, you don't get questioned on those things. And so having that means it's going to be harder for you to change your opinion of those things, and it's going to be difficult, right? So those are a lot of the things that happened previously. Now, what is some of the things that, Trump has already spoken about when it comes to the LGBTQ plus community, the queer community. So really, in the past, when he was in presidency, when they've done their, statistics and stuff like that, there was increased discrimination towards people in the queer community from their statistics and reports when he was in president to when he was not in presidency. And increased amounts of homophobia and hate crimes to people in this community because of during this presidency. And now, why would that be? Because when someone who is a leader in that position speaks about these kinds of topics, the people underneath them listen to them. And so if someone at the top's talking negatively about queer people, whether that's related to gender, sexuality, whatever it is, right? There are going to be people below him, wherever you are in middle America, wherever in America, are going to listen to that. And they're going to say, Donald Trump agrees that these blah, blah, blahs are wrong. So I'm well in my right to do what I'm doing because the presidency is saying all these things as well. So it increased hate crimes. So the likelihood of that happening again and hate crimes towards people in the queer community rising is probably something that's going to happen as well. It's going to be harder for people to do activism stuff. Of course, we're going to have to stand up and really try to support each other and do that because, that's how we've survived up to this point is being, a strong queer community. We've banded together. Now, I know there's this topic of like, well, gay people should fight for gay rights and transgenders for trans and then lesbians for lesbians. Whereas, that might be all well and good that we all have certain areas and certain policies that are going to be important for us specifically, right? But when we're talking about the rights of a community, the whole queer community, when you start to see rights of one area start to go, it's not going to be long before the rest of the community starts to suffer. So we have to support our community. And when stuff's happening, we have to stand up and try to go against it because it's not a one size fits all policy, right? Yes, there's going to be good things for us. There's going to be bad things for other people, right? But it's about trying to figure out how can we support each other so that, we have more of a voice. Because when we can speak together, we've got more of a voice, more of an impact, and we can make more of a difference when we stand up together. But when we're fighting against each other and be like, no, that's not my thing to deal with, it becomes harder. Again, so if you don't support them, but when we're struggling and we need support, they don't it's a double-sided thing as well. So we really need to figure out how we can do that. So anyway, moving into this presidency, this next Trump era, there's a lot of stuff that he's talking about relating to people who are transgender. Basically, he's trying to make it now that there's only going to be two defined genders, and it's male and female, and it is what you are at birth. Outside of that, that is, he's trying to eradicate all of those things to the point where people can't go through the transition legally.
Are you ready to embark on a journey of transformation that's uniquely yours? Welcome to QueerQuest, the world's first and best personal development platform created by and for the queer community. Imagine a space where your authenticity isn't just accepted, it's celebrated. A place where you can grow, learn, and thrive alongside a vibrant community that understands you. At QueerQuest, we're more than just a platform. We're a family. Connect with like-minded individuals, share your stories, and empower each other to reach new heights. Our tailored courses are designed to address the unique experiences of the queer community, from self-love and confidence building to career advancement and beyond. We've got you covered. It's time to step into your power and transform your journey. Join us today at courses.queerquest.vip, see what we're all about, and sign up to begin your quest.
You're not going to be able to go and do those things, and he's going to make it to the point where people who perform those kinds of operations can be sued, can have, like, it's almost illegal for them to do those things as well. So it could be like quite, of course, difficult for someone who is struggling with their gender identity, even when, they've got the support of their family or the community or teachers. If a teacher or a parent tries to do certain things to support their child, they can also be threatened with stuff by the law, because anything to do with someone who's a minor, it's going to be like absolutely eradicated. So someone who is, 13, 7, 6, whatever age, people, because people, come to terms with their gender or their sexuality at different ages, right? Some are able to have a great, upbringing and can see it from an early age and will want to do it. Those people aren't going to be able to get the support that they need, because it's going to be a full country ban on those things there. And of course, I know that there's differences between state and federal legislation, but sometimes when things happen here, it trickles down everywhere to the point where they put a lot of pressure on senators of different states to do things, and especially if the senators want to get support for some of their things, then it's like, well, you need to change this. So the dynamics can really F things up for people in this community, especially for, like I said, those people who are struggling with their gender identity and are really sure, have done all the things that they need to do, have got a strong family support and background wanting to do that. This might stop them. It also, I know there's been a lot of controversy around, people of transgender, doing sports with other women. And so, of course, that's going to go backwards as well. We're not going to make any movements forwards. It's going to go backwards to the point where, these people aren't going to be able to actually even have a athletic career, right? Because they're not going to be able to compete in that realm. And so, again, for those people who are transgender and really trying to, be athletes or whatever, it's going to probably push them back in their ability to go into whatever, like Olympics and those kinds of sporting events, So again, that's something that I know is a touchy subject, but to me, it's just going backwards. We're not making progress. We're not having the conversations anymore with people when people slam the door shut as well. So those are things as well. There's going to be threats to marriage equality, right? Now, when like I said, when one thing starts to come, you start to push things back, right? Like I said, they had the whole abortion thing. Now it's 2024, and it happened in the last year or two, right? When it came down to it, where they put in the ban for, people's right to choose what they do with their body. Now, if that can change, marriage equality can easily change as well, because they're going to be able to, change and revise different policies and make it, like I said, go backwards, like as if we're going back 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 odd years, right? And so there's going to be a lot of legislation that will come out at federal level and state levels that, like I said, will be negative towards people in the LGBTQ plus community. Now, like I said, I don't follow everything in the US, especially when it comes to the policies or the, like I said, policies or actually political stuff. So if I'm saying stuff and you want to correct me, feel free to do so. Like I said, I'm not an expert here. I'm just trying to share, my concerns and my shock around the whole, situation, because I feel for people who are living in the US. Like I said, at one point I was, a few years ago before I moved to Bali, I questioned I was going to move to LA. I wanted to move to LA because I thought it was a great city for people in the queer community. And, like with what I was doing, I felt like I could, I felt like there was a place for me. I didn't move there, obviously. I moved away to a different place from where I was living in Australia. But like I said, I'm understanding what I can from trying to get myself more educated on stuff that happens and affects people in the queer community. So for me, like I said, I'm not an expert, and there may be some things that I'm saying that aren't accurate. Feel free to, like I said, comment on those below, because like I said, I want this to be an open discussion. I'm not an expert. I'm not trying to go out there and slander Trump. What I would love is that, like, maybe, he's there and maybe he's got the right people around him. And, maybe like all of this stuff was just hearsay and talk to try to win an election. I don't know. But, if the past is a reflection of the present and the future, it's not looking good for people in the queer community under people who are like that. And that's just my specific opinion. Like I said, it doesn't legitimately affect me and my own life and my relationship, because I don't live there. But again, of course, I have clients there. I do a lot of work with people in the US, and I also don't want to see the rights of people in the queer community going backwards, because I think that is a real disservice, right? They've had so many things that happen over the years, like I know, like the whole "Don't Say Gay" thing, which was a bill that was trying to be passed a few years ago. And I know that Trump was a big supporter of that bill, and it didn't go through in 2022. But I do believe that under his legislation, that those bills like that will get, reversed. And so it's going to put people back in the closet, and it's going to make people not want to be open and share who they are because they're going to be afraid to do that, right? I'm sure there are people out there like that are in the queer community that voted Republican, who are Republican and voted for Trump being the president. And they did it for whatever reason was right for them, whether it's, like I said, economic reasons, because again, a lot of people here in 2024 are making decisions around finances. And I get it, that maybe his policies were really good on that. I don't know. Like I said, I don't understand every policy. I don't read that. Like I said, I'm not an expert in that, but I just know that there are a lot of stuff that is happening that is, political, that is societal, that's going to shift and change. Because like I said, when you have someone in power talking about these things all the time, and then policies start to change, then people start to become more bigoted. Like I said, hate crimes start to rise, and it becomes, a real issue. And so for me here today, like I said, this isn't about me wanting, I'm not wanting to slam Trump, and just whatever it is. This is me sharing my perspective and opinion, and just a bit of, concern that I have for people in the US who are in the queer community because of all these policies that affect people related to their gender, their sexuality. And I just, really, it feels a little bit like, a tough day, a dark day. And I don't want to hear that. I know there's a lot more. And so, like I said, if you want to get into the comments, you want to share that stuff, let's have an open discussion, because there is a lot more stuff going on here. And I'm going to continue to learn and get more up to date with these things, because again, being a queer transformation coach, I have my own business, Queer Quest, where I help queer people from all over the world. I want to make sure that if things are going to be affecting them, that we get ahead of that and that we can support them in the best way possible, because I don't want people to live in fear or to live in the closet. I want people to live more authentically as who they are. This is why I became, a coach for queer people, because like I said, I want to empower people and for them to have an authentic life, and for them to be able to truly, like I said, live life and love who they need to love and be who they need to be, because really everyone should have that right as well. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there. You can comment below here. You can reach out to me on social media, and we can continue this conversation over there. But until next week, when I bring out another episode of the Queer Quest podcast, always remember that you've got this and I've got you. Bye for now.